the reforms that we all know that have been around here for several years that aren't new to us. There were no specifics in the area of Medicaid pensions, absolutely no reference to retiree health care. So in that respect, a bit troubling, but it did sound good if you didn't know any better.
There was one glaring omission, and that is how the backlog of bills would be handled. So he did talk about the need to address the pension issue, but the budget is based on the fact that we do address Medicaid, but it spends 99.5% of the revenue that is proposed to come in. So there really is no, or was no, reference to how we pay down back bills.
How do you expect them to pay that? You guys don't want to borrow. Do you expect them to cut $8 billion? Is that kind of the upshot of what you just said there?
Well, if the two big items are handled, then we can have a discussion about continuing forward, what the options are going forward to handle the backlog of bills. But that wasn't even referenced. And again, even with the $2.7 billion in Medicaid cuts, that spends 99.5% of what we have coming in. And again, the main issue is what will actually pass. I mean, he kind of tossed it back in the lap of the General Assembly and the working groups. I'm very interested in what specific proposals the governor has to deal with these issues. We put out a number of proposals last year, and if you recall, his retort to that was, I'm not going to listen to them. Well, hopefully this year he's interested in engaging in a discussion, and we're happy to partner, but we'd like to hear what his ideas are as well.
Should our
districts take over their own pension costs?
I'm sorry, what?
Should school districts take over their own employee pension costs?
I think that we do need to be open to all options. I think everyone recognizes that that's one that the Democrats are talking about. Obviously, just a simple cost shift is not enough to solve the problem. If there's a comprehensive plan and that is a piece of it, I'm open to considering it.
Could you each tell me, I mean, he wants to spend $33.8 billion roughly. What do you think that number should be? If you were to propose your own budget, what number would you propose?
Well, I think you realize that we're going to start a discussion on what that number should be. It started yesterday, so I think we can work through that as hopefully the four caucuses can come together on a number. We may or may not. We may have some disagreement. It has to be a conservative number. It certainly needs to be less, I believe, than last year. Where that number is, I don't know, but it needs to be going that way, not the other way where he took it up. As I said, as you look at that document, by over $500 million from last year. That's unacceptable.
What do you think the number should be?
I think it needs to have enough room to begin to attack the backlog of bills. The proposal that we had out there last year not only paid down the backlog of bills, but allowed the tax increase to expire. And that is still something that's a priority for Republicans, is to see that tax increase.
Or $2 billion? What do you think? Where should we start with in terms of paying those bills?
Well, just again, to reference what we did last year, we were in the neighborhood of 30. I think if you get in the neighborhood of 31, that begins to pay down those bills.
Senator, would you propose?
Close the facilities, including the prisons. I mean, is that something we should do? Is that something that can be done?
Yeah, I think you have to have that discussion, and I think you need to be, you're going to have to, look, his own folks a year ago, and even more recent than that, have said you've got to do it in a kind of a thoughtful, planned out way. What are you going to do with the facilities once you close them? What are you going to do with the folks inside of them? What are you going to do with the employees? Those are all fair questions. You need to do it in a deliberate way. We've kind of seen this playbook before. We came in last year and said, we're going to close all these facilities, and we were down to 2. But clearly we have to have this discussion, but to do it in a deliberate, thoughtful manner. And I'm very much open to that, and we need to.
But do you agree with closing the prisons, towns?
As long as there's a plan to deal with those functions and the people in those facilities that's appropriate, yes. I mean, we've talked about that for a long time.
On pensions, the governor at least set a deadline. He set a date by which he wants the working groups to actually produce a plan for you guys to vote on. Does that encourage you, Eddie?
Well, it's interesting. The original date they had was April 1st, which is, I think, very significant, and it's April Fool's Day. So maybe moving it to the 17th makes some sense. Look, we're well past talking. We're well past working groups. We're well past discussing this. It has to happen. So if he's picked the 17th, I applaud him for that, but we need some concrete bills in form from him if he wants to engage, or we'll have somebody else do it. But the 17th may be the date we work off, but we need to do it soon.
Just to be clear, did you two pick the members that are to be on the pension working group from your own caucus?
I did.
Yes.
Yeah.
What did you say to them? Did you give them any direction and say, here's our goals, or is it just going in with no particular agenda other than representing the caucus and then coming back and reporting.
Well,
Yeah, go ahead, I'm sorry.
Well, the goal is to stabilize the system for the folks that are going to be relying on it and who currently rely on it. I didn't give any preconceived direction as to what the outcome had to be.